but I'm going to tell our thousands and thousands of listeners. You fucking set me up so every fucking thing is serious, and you got me fucking Googling this and looking at fights and shit. Look at this one, and then you come off with a fucking Margaret Sanger.
Well,
you completely I'm all trying to be serious and professional.
We take our fighting very seriously. You know, that's a whole different animal. And coming up, this next segment, we also need to take very, very seriously. Okay. So the next segment is going to be how to mansplain Roe versus Wade to your emotional friend that's upset about it. Have you seen this in the outer world? Have you seen people very emotional out there?
Yes, I have, and being serious, it really is a problem. And I think that yes, you have your beliefs, you know what's right and what's wrong. I think that misinformation is the biggest fucking problem.
That's exactly the goal of this particular segment. You know what I'm going to do? I was going to do this differently, but no, I need to do too much work to break it out to have you read it. But you can tell me if you've heard.
I can read.
I know, but I need to actually tell you it's not really organized for that. So we're going to basically have a series of Karen questions. These are questions I've seen online, and these are serious questions that women have said and are concerned about. And we'll call the women Karen 1, Karen 2, just for the purpose of the segment. And we're going to mansplain to these women, how they can learn about the real waves of what's going on in this decision, so that they can, and again, this is parody, so that they can calm down, right? So the goal here is, how do you calm down your emotional friend? This is an emotional time for all of us. You think that this is just you. What about us, Jimmy? And what about everybody out there? So this is a way to do it. The number one, so I wrote,
do not like condoms.
Nobody does. Who the hell wears a condom? Have you? When
you're
was the last time you were?
You're talking about the effect on everybody.
It's a major effect.
Right.
Major. This sacrifice of choking one's own cock with a piece of rubber is terrible. Or even worse, lambskin, which smells fucking terrible.
But I'll do it.
Oh, well, yeah, you're a better man than me. I wouldn't do that. Although I'm married, so there's a big difference there. I don't have to do such
I just don't want no more kids.
So there is it's so funny that I don't know if you hear the song in the background, but this is perfect for this. It's called Once Upon a Time.
I was a hoe, and I'm admitting it. I won't take you back.
And that wasn't even on purpose. That was God's will. Okay, so number one question, as we mansplain to women how this shakes down. Number one, there's a constitutional right to an abortion, so we should be given the right. Karen, number one, that is false. There is no constitutional right to abortion. Roe versus Wade was not a constitutional amendment. Roe versus Wade was a Supreme Court decision which moved the power to the government. So there is no constitutional right to abortion, and there never, ever has been. If you want a constitutional amendment, there's a process for that. They need to go through that process to add that as a constitutional amendment, much like they did the 19th Amendment, granting women the right to vote. So that was done after the original and can be done here. So Karen, number one, no, there was no constitutional right to amendments. Number two, see if you've heard this one. Supreme Court forced women to have babies. False. Supreme Court simply moved it to the states. Whether or not you have a baby or not is up to you. You can still go to a state that does allow abortions. If you are in a state that has kicked off an auto law, which does not allow abortions, so that is also incorrect. Plus, you have Plan B in most of these states.
What's an auto law?
So they had a trigger law. So as soon as this came down, it just triggered and said, look, we're going to make it illegal, and then we'll work out the actual logistics. So I think 18 states triggered that. which obviously doesn't help the case. It doesn't help ease tensions, although there was not going to be any easing of tensions anywhere in here. So this is why we panicked when Ruth died. Okay, Karen number 3. This was a 6-3 decision. Ruth wouldn't have mattered. It would have just made it a 5-4 decision. So Karen number 3, that didn't matter at all. Jimmy,
Can I piggyback Karen's question?
Yes.
Ruth screamed the loudest how bad how bad it was and how it was going to bite them in the ass.
Yes, so did Joe Biden, and so did Ruth Bader. Everybody, this is a terrible ruling. It actually moved. We will get into it, but yeah, it works. Let's mansplain, because you guys clearly don't know in your own. So we are here to tell you what to think, because it's our minds, our choice, and you clearly need some help understanding what to think. And that's what we're here for as champions of the women's movement. As your champions, as your leaders of the women's movement, we are going to help you calm down so that you can relax and enjoy yourself, and we can discuss this in a reasonable manner. So number 3, it is a woman's body. So her body, her choice. It's not your body anymore. It's different DNA. What I would say is put up a picture of baby and tell me what body part of yours that is. What organ is that?
That's where things get so murky. That's where things get murky.
Not actually that murky. It's just not theirs. It's not even there. It's in their body. Their body is a receptacle for it, but it's not murky. It's not actually an organ. It's another life, and they chose in most cases to have that child. In the cases of rape and incest, we'll get into that later.
What's the percentage on what's the percentage on cases of rape and incest?
Under 1%. Under 1%. Yeah. So it's a very, very, again, 1% when you consider the long amount of, like the large amount. That's rape accusations, by the way. I don't know what real rapes are. Because of the original Roe, Jane Roe, she said that she was gang raped, and then she admitted she was lying. So the original basis for this entire case was a lie, which invalidates the entire case on that level in general. So when somebody brings a case on a false premise, the court rules on a false premise, and the person who brought the case and said, no, this is not right, the entire case is no longer valid inherently. So the Supreme Court ruled on a case where somebody was perjuring themselves and was a lying whore. So Jane Roe, RIP, we don't want to say bad about you. Maybe she can make an appearance on the on a podcast sometime, but not right now. It's too soon. Very sensitive. And we're trying to quell those feelings right now. Now, Jane, I'm sorry, Karen number 4. Yeah. Supreme Court overturned the law. Incorrect. There was no law. The Supreme Court issued a judgment which granted privacy for the first trimester. And what happened in their opinion is they used the word viability of the baby. So this is in 1973. Nobody had echograms or sonograms or anything. So the viability of the baby was the part that was the Trojan horse to be able to talk about, well, how viable is a baby at any time? I would argue that, I know some old babies right now in their 80s that aren't viable. Somebody walks out of that house like my father, he's going to just fall down and die immediately, pretty quickly. So viability isn't really, the whole thing was it was a first trimester. You have an option with your doctor so that you don't look bad in school, et cetera. And then after that, the state can come in. So that was bastardized over the years. So no, the overturning the law never happened. There was no law. The Supreme Court doesn't make law, and that's part of the issue with the original ruling. Is essentially
There's a ruling.
They kind of did in a way. They sort of said all states must adhere to this, which in essence is a law de facto, even though the Supreme Court can't make law, which is again one other reason why this was a terrible ruling. So undoing that and allowing it to go back to the states and getting the federal government is the right thing. So let's go to Karen number 5. The Supreme Court's decision overturning the constitutional right to abortion is a disaster. We kind of touched on this, but there was no constitutional right to an abortion. The Supreme Court didn't overturn anything that never existed. And, and it is not a disaster. It actually is perfectly fine. Karen, number 6, ectopic I'm the one who wrote it.
Ectopic pregnancy.
Miscarriages and uterine rupture or threat to the mother are not covered. Women are going to die. Okay. All of those things are not abortion related. None of them. So none of them have anything to do with this at all. Those are all health issues, and every state deals with it automatically. So that's irrelevant. Karen, number 6. None of them have anything to do with what happened.
So
in any shape or form, absolutely at all.
You're saying that an abortion clinic, their services would not do anything to help you or hurt you or anything with an ectopic pregnancy?
Well, that's a serious medical issue. That's not an abortion issue. That's where you go to a doctor and you actually.
So would that be regular insurance?
It'd be covered under regular emergency care. Yeah. It has nothing that would not be covered in any of the 50 states under any sort of abortion ban or not. That's a serious issue. So it's being used as a thing, but it's all lies. These procedures so companies that pay for abortions are amazing. That's Karen, number 7. Karen, number 7, those companies don't give one fuck about you. Those companies realize that if they send you out of state and kill that baby, that you will be back at work. And their procedure, instead of costing $20,000 for a full pregnancy for their insurance, it's about $350 plus, the flights. So, and you get your ass back to work. So not included your, whatever it is, time off. So those companies not only don't care about you, they hate you. They want your ass back at work. And they're smart enough to pay the small amount of money to trick you into doing something that's worse for you because you aren't smart enough to see it. Karen, number 6. And that's why we're here. We're here to help. Men should have to pay once a heartbeat is detected, and that would change their mind on abortion. Men do pay when babies are born, and that has changed a lot of minds on abortion. So there's a lot of men out there that are very much, let's kill the kid, because they know how much paying for 18 years of a kid that they can't see means. You don't need to pay before the kid is born for men to understand the financial obligation. The good ones welcome it. The bad ones that you've slept with that want to run away, they don't welcome it. So guns have more rights than women. That's one. Have you seen this one? Karen, number 9.
I haven't seen this. Is the first one I haven't seen.
Guns have more rights than women.
Just let me wrap my head. Guns have more rights than women.
Yes, guns have more rights than women because the guns are in the Constitution, and women killing their children under any circumstance is not in the Constitution. Okay.
Gun owners have more rights.
Well, it's the same thing if you think about it. It's the right to protect life, because if you have guns, you're protecting your own life and the life of your family. And if you're actually trying to make sure that a kid isn't killed, you're protecting the life of the child. So both of them actually run in the same vein of how do you protect as much human life as possible, especially the life of, people that are most affected, AKA Black people, Hispanic people that have most of these abortions. So when women, for some reason, they seem to want to detach themselves from the fact that there is a living person in there. They want to pretend that this thing doesn't bloom into something different, and that if you get it quickly, it doesn't exist. Where did they come from? You know what I mean? But in general, if you want to protect life, you protect all life. And the best way to protect all life is to sort of quell how much killing of it that you do. I'm not trying to take a stance either way, but if you kill more of it, you'll get less of it. And protecting all life is a good thing, right? Am I crazy for that?
I agree. Hey, I'd be interested to know the statistics. You keep saying over and over, you keep saying that this is predominantly killing Black babies. This was set up to kill Black babies. What are the numbers?
They've killed like 32 million, 34 million Black babies. I mean,
that doesn't mean anything. What's the percentage? Who has, how much of
let's put it this way, black, and you'd have to break it out by percentage of population throughout time, but just in general, more babies of color and black babies are killed, and they're a much smaller percentage of population. So most of the population, 70% plus are white, and yet most babies killed are black or quote, babies of color. So it's disproportionately set up, and most of these Planned Parenthoods are in
Has
shape.
that been the same? Has that stayed the same?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not breaking out the data sampling and analytics for it.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm just
Massively, it's a massive disproportionate killing of non-white babies. And that was the goal of the whole thing. So old white men are taking over women's bodies. This is Karen number 10. The original ruling was all old white men. And this particular ruling has a black man, a woman. Most of the people are young. And it also has an Italian who Miss Sanger thought was not considered to be a white person. So this is a far less old white man ruling. The original ruling was literally 9 very old white men. It was a Republican ruling. And they moved the decision over women's health into the federal government's realm and out of the realm of the woman. And women thanked them for it because you guys just didn't know what you're talking about. And that's why we're here.
the switcheroo.
We're mansplaining. You thanked them for moving the power away from you into the hands of the federal government because you agreed with this one issue, not realizing what you had just given up in order to get this one issue satisfied. So this one was a good one, Jimmy. You'll like this one. Karen number 11. God aborted his own son, Jesus. Now, what do you think about that? I'm going to take a sip, but I have a little response. Are you out?
No, I'm here. Fuck. There we are. That's silly. That's silly.
Well, why is it silly? Did God abort his own son?
No.
No, Jesus chose to sacrifice. God actually had nothing to do with that for those that have never read the book. Jesus specifically says, he's choosing the Roman.
I mean, you could even say he killed. It'd be more accurate to say he killed his own son, but he didn't abort his own son.
Well, he didn't. He actually took no active role in anything, which is kind of the whole point of the Bible. There's a lot of times when God sort of plays games and does take active roles. In this particular case, it's a very well clearly laid out that God did not play an active role, except 3 days later when Jesus was raised from the dead. So, he wasn't aborted at all. He was sacrificed, went through a lot of pain, resurrected. Know whether or not you agree with it or not. It's a bad, really bad. He did not abort his son. And in the book, there's no real connection to that. So Karen number 11, it was a nice try. You should read the book. Sex strike against men. This is my favorite. Women, these.
Rosie O'Donnell's doing that.
I would hope that a lot of Rosie O'Donnell would do that.
Please.
As a matter of fact, if you've ever been to one of these rallies, I'm pretty sure this will be the greatest sex strike ever. It's you've seen the movie Idiocracy, right? Where the smart people don't breed and the dumb ones are breeding like crazy.
Yeah.
If we could quell a little bit of the dumb breeding that's been happening with this sex strike, and I think there's a chance to make a dent in it, it could have positive repercussions for years to come. I applaud your sex strike. Bring it on. I dare you. If you whores could keep your legs shut for a second, we wouldn't have this problem. So, yeah, we're calling your bluff on the sex strike. Good luck. The next guy that fucking winks at you and gives you a tequila shot, you're going to be ass up, face down.
That's right.
All right, let's take it to the streets. That's another great one.
Yeah. Are we going to ask?
Streets. What are you going to do in the streets, Karen? It's already fucking done. The decision is made. The Supreme Court has ruled. What are you going to whine in the streets? Here's the beauty of it, though. You can make a difference in your streets in your state. So now it's a state issue. So instead of whining against the Supreme Court, go to your state and say, look, we want, these certain protections. And try not to be a psychopath. Try not to be Freddy Krueger when you're asking for these fucking protections. Don't go, I want to be able to kill the baby right up to the moment it's born. My body, my choice. Be reasonable, psychopath. If you actually go to the original Roe versus Wade, it's first trimester. You saying you liked it. Take that into your state, and I'm pretty sure your state might be reasonable and amicable to that. If you go full of Freddy Krueger, you're going to make people polarized on both sides.
Yep.
You're going to realize you're just a psychopath trying to kill babies and sell their baby parts, which is also a real thing. It's been proven in court. So the decision is done, right? So don't go into the streets unless you're trying to change your local law, because that's the beauty of this. It's now a local law issue, Supreme Court. You can,
I mean, I understand the way I understand. Women have never been able to vote on this. Now they can.
yeah, now you can vote on it. Now you really actually have a say. And we said that last time, as we mansplained to you, this is the best thing for your shitty movement that's been a fucking disaster up to this point. You guys have literally botched everything from working, school choice, stay at home. You know, you're fucking eating drugs and sitting on the TV watching Oprah's dumbass, you know, who made her career fucking putting midgets up on the goddamn TV. And that's
having a fucking dude be woman of the year.
Having a dude be woman of the year, having all of your sports just get absolutely bastardized, all of your bathrooms taken away. I mean, I guarantee that a man's going to win woman of the year in the Grammys any day now, because a man's going to win women's pool tournament. Like, there's not going to be anything left for you. So now you finally have it back. You're finally powerful again, and you didn't even, and you're pissed off about it. And you should be mad in a good way, but you should also be excited that you're relevant again. That's the bigger picture, you know, Karen, and then your little emotional outburst, you know, that makes us want to go shopping and asking if you're on your period, or if you're PMSing, or if you're a little emotional about this stuff. It's time to calm down, you know, just keep it under wraps. Okay. All right. So here's another one. You can always get a vaccine, right? So wait, I can't have an abortion in my state. What do? Go to another state. I know gas is expensive, and that's another issue you can get mad about. But yeah, go to another state, have your abortion. Try to do it quickly. Don't like sit there like you're at a fucking cheesecake factory trying to figure out what to eat for like 8 years. Just decide, go, get it over with. And, you know, the sooner the better before the kid actually turns into a kid. You know,
I have a Karen.
Go for it.
My body, my choice.
Yeah, well, we kind of covered that earlier, because it's not really your body. It's different DNA.
I don't get. It's never been like that. Was the easiest thing to say before too. How's it any different?
Well, most of these idiots were also saying that everybody should be jabbed with an experimental jab that never was actually approved, but approved under emergency authorization. Then it wasn't your body, your choice. But they would say, well, because the disease could kill other people while the jab didn't work. You know, and
yeah, but an abortion kills other people.
Well, what I would say too is, if you want an abortion, you give yourself the jab. You can combine the two and give yourself the jab, and you can get you the abortion you wanted. Just keep getting vaccinated. Anytime you get pregnant, your odds of being pregnant for long go way, way down. I think that combine the two, my body, my choices, into one, you have a winning formula.
Hey, if you're a dude, you can get fixed like that too.
Yeah, and that's another one that men should be required to get fixed. So I think those Karens are missing the whole point. This isn't requiring women to do anything. This is actually the federal government saying this is none of our business. So again, the metaphor falls short, because if the federal government were saying you must get an abortion or you must not get an abortion, that would make sense. In this case, they said, look, this is out of our jurisdiction, goes to the states. So it doesn't make sense at all. It's basically what we all want. So at the end of the day, a lot of these people do have a legitimate point, which is the government shouldn't be in our lives. And these are decisions human beings should make with their doctor, their family. You know, I understand that position. It's a reasonable position as long as it's not past a certain point in time, in which case it's, you know, a little fucking fucked up.
Yeah.
So it's reasonable to say, hey, I need a certain amount of time. That's basically it's not only basically, that's exactly what the Supreme Court did. They just said, hey, it is your body, your choice. It's none of our fucking business. You figure it out, run with it. And, that's what this mansplaining segment really is about, is explaining why that's a good thing. The first step towards body autonomy is getting the federal government out of your body. Then it goes down to the states. The next step to getting body autonomy is getting your state out of it. So step number 1 had to happen in order to move to step number 2. If you can get to step number 2 and get step number 2 done, then life is better for all of us. We don't have people trying to jab us when we don't want. We don't have the government telling us what to do with our children. And we actually have body autonomy. The libertarian in me cheers for that day. And at the same time, the person that's a human wants to make sure that kids don't suffer in the meantime. So that's it.
But they've gone to the point of no return though. Now it's not like you can explain this and have them say, "Oh, okay, I get it now. Maybe that's not so bad." They will never say that.
Well, that's the whole point. They will. After watching this wonderful segment where we talked about periods, why don't you just go calm down? You're being a little emotional, and all the other things like shh, like we did last time. Shh,
Yeah.
shh, quit bitching. They love it when you say that. Quit bitching. You need me to go get the pads? You need me to go get pads right now? Is it that time of the month? Calm down. We'll discuss it later. When you've cooled off. But and the last one, which goes along in this, is
don't start acting like your mother.
Is that this is going to kill women? Okay, these decisions are going to kill so many women. Now, there is some truth that being pregnant does have risks. Matter of fact, way back in the day, I think like half women died from pregnancy. Pregnancies can be risky. Abortions also have certain risks. But the abortion has a 100% chance of death. And a lot of those kids in there, if you're assuming that all of them are biological men that aren't identifying as women yet, as long as it's 100% men that aren't, then you're probably still going to save women's lives by, maybe putting some limitations on this mathematically. So while they're worried about some of these mothers passing away, through crazy medical issues, the bottom line is if you actually really care about women and want to save women, you capture more life, because even if it's 100% men, a lot of those men are going to identify as women. You will still save female lives with those little identification men by protecting life overall. So I think we've covered how to get government out of your life, which I think is the goal of all the people. And in dead seriousness, Jimmy, I think the goal is for a lot of these women that are emotional right now, very emotional and not thinking straight at all, which is why we're doing this segment to mansplain, is that they want government out of their lives. And the good news is you're one major step closer to government being out of your life and getting your own power and your own life back. Now you have to deal with a state government, and then you're good to go. And my Jimmy has clocked out. Heat got too much for him. Too much heat. I had zero doubt when I saw you fucking with your computer that was going to happen.
A fucking pain in the ass.
You can set this up before we do the podcast, spend 2 minutes and not go through this every single time we're on the podcast, right?
Yes, I'm going to do that next time. Thank you.
It's a nice touch. So that's the segment. Women, hopefully you realize that was parody. That's not we don't actually, but yes, in general, this is much better for women. And even the ones that are very, very angry right now, one thing that you should know for real, this is not parody. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats right now have the presidency, the House, and the Senate. They could have a law passed federally by Friday if they were to stick to the original terms of the original Roe versus Wade and say the first trimester is federally protected for all 50 states. That could be passed by Friday. The problem is when the leak happened, they decided to go full Freddy Krueger and said, we want it right up to the moment of birth. And of course, that isn't going to pass. Every moderate and every person with a soul said no. And they haven't readdress this. They haven't tried to negotiate it. They're gaslighting people to get them pissed off and pretending they have no control and that it's all the Supreme Court's fault. In the meantime, it's now a legislative issue. Truly, the federal people in charge right now, the Democratic Party, could fix this by Friday if they were able to compromise and if they wanted to. They don't want to because they want people pissed off, uneducated, miseducated, going into the midterms because they know an angry base is a motivated base to vote. And so what they proposed originally was never going to pass. They knew it. And rather than try to put something moderate across and actually get a win, they didn't do it. And Barack Obama, same thing. Barack actually said he was going to codify Roe versus Wade when he came into office. And then when he got into office, he punted on it and said, yeah, it's not really a priority anymore. So they've been, they have no interest in actually codifying the law federally. And they have a lot of interest in having people angry and violent and risking lives and the division of this country over a ruse where it basically said the federal government's no longer involved in your health. So that's actually a side note. It's a rather substantial side note, but they could literally fix this by Friday because everybody on the right too would be fine with a first trimester. That would pass with flying colors. It's when you go towards the later piece where it wouldn't. But the babies